From now on, we're going to take care of the house by ourselves. So, go live somewhere else, my brother and his wife said. My mother was in agreement with them, as if I were an obstacle. Do they understand who has been paying for the living expenses of the house? I never thought they would be disrespectful like this. In the back of my mind, I made up my mind to take certain actions. My name is Carrie. I am a 30-year-old woman. Currently, I am living back at my parents' house. After graduating from college, I joined a company to try to make it on my own in the outside world, but it was harder than I had imagined and my heart was exhausted. Therefore, I had to return to my parents' home again. At first, while receiving unemployment benefits, I was looking for new job opportunities. Then I learned about work-at-home jobs and started working independently. My university major was in a scientific field, so I could utilize my skills as a freelance engineer. I started with small projects at first. Although the income was small, the experience of working from home was very meaningful. Unlike most companies, I was able to earn enough money without having to interact with people as much. And I gradually gained confidence in my ability to work at my own pace. Then, I worked steadily at my job. Gradually, I began to be entrusted with larger projects, and my income started to rise. After about a year, I was earning as much as a regular company employee. But the trouble is, my parents, especially my mother, didn't really understand me working at home. My father was convinced when I explained in detail, but my mother was a bit old-fashioned in her thinking and was afraid of what she didn't understand. No matter how many times I explained that I take my job seriously, she would end up saying things like this. How long are you planning on staying home? At first, I thought it was for your mental health, but it's been over 2 years now. You should try working outside more. I tried to explain in all sincerity, but my mother did not quite understand. My mother said, "You're just doing something online." She was often suspicious of me. How could I make her understand? No matter how much I tried to explain, my mother would not be convinced. I showed her emails from clients and my salary statements, but no matter how much I tried, she would not accept my lifestyle. My mother said, "Isn't that some kind of shady business or religion you're involved in?" That's not true. I receive my payments regularly, and it's a reliable job. I explained, but my mother would not budge. There's always the possibility that it's unemployment benefits, right? And it's not like you can receive them forever. My mother's worries were endless. I had considered living on my own, but I had not yet saved enough money to do so. Around that time, my father's legs and back deteriorated and he needed nursing care. My father retired early and faced a sudden loss of income. "Dad, are you okay?" "Oh, Carrie, I'm sorry to worry you, but I've got my pension, so I'll make it work." I thought about it, but considering how much Mother spends, are you sure you can handle it? Either way, I guess we'll just have to make do with what we have in savings. My father's face was quite tired. Perhaps he was feeling anxious about the future. For a long time, I attended college with my father's financial support. Furthermore, I have been living with my father's help even when I returned to my parents' home after suffering from mental health problems. Is it really a good idea to leave my father alone and continue to live on my own? My mother was also confused by my father's sudden condition. I stayed home and felt I might be able to give something back. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll support the family from now on." "Oh, really?" my father said in surprise. "But I can't imagine you have that much income." "Don't worry, Dad. My current income is quite stable." I showed my father my bank account information. My father had always understood my situation, so I believed he would be convinced. "Carrie, I didn't know you were so solid." "Yeah, I've been getting more income lately." "Then, can you help us out a little?" "Of course. You've done so much for us, so I'll support you from now on." "Thank you, Carrie." This led me to support the living expenses of the house, my father's medical bills, and many other expenses. I would transfer a certain amount of money to my father's bank account each month to help with the household expenses. Since my mother had been using my father's credit card for some time, I created a new main card and gave the supplementary card to my mother. My father saved as much as he could and asked my mother to do the same to save money. My mother said, "What? Then should we kick Carrie out of this house? Carrie is contributing financially. It's going to be a lot harder without her." Is that true? My mother was not convinced. She was also suspicious about my support. My father convinced my mother, and she finally agreed to let me live with her. I then continued to work while helping out at home. My mother took my help for granted and was very strict with me. "Can't you finish your chores faster?" "Sorry, it's not easy because I'm also working at the same time." "You keep saying that, but is it really that difficult?" My mother did not understand and did not listen to me. I realized that my relationship with my mother was becoming irreparable. My father understood what I was doing, and that helped more than anything. And we continued to live this way for a year. However, one day, after 1 year had gone by, my father suddenly fell ill and had to be hospitalized. Every day, I went to visit my father in the hospital. "Hey, Dad, how are you today?" "Oh, thank you, Carrie. It doesn't look like it's going to get better anytime soon, but I hope it's a little less of a burden for you." "Don't think that way. Taking care of you wasn't a burden for me. But I know that you and Mom haven't been getting along." "Well, that's a little." After my father was hospitalized, the relationship between my mother and I deteriorated further. I felt suffocated at times living with my mother. But don't worry. Nevertheless, I still wanted to support my father and mother as a family. I was especially grateful when I recalled how my mother made my lunchbox every day when I was a student and how she put effort for dinner every night. But then, something that changed my mind completely happened. My mother said to my brother Kevin, "I've been waiting for you." "You're late." "Sorry, Mom. I've been a little busy." "Hi, mother-in-law." "Hi, Mary. Thank you for coming." I was too surprised to say anything. Then, I approached my brother Kevin and his wife Mary, and they looked at me with a cold stare. Suddenly, my brother told me somehow, "We're going to live here from now on too." "What? Why?" Mom was worried. She thought it might be a bit tough for you to live here alone while Dad's not around. "I see." In surprise, I turned to my mother, but my mother looked away. My brother said, "I hope this will make Mom feel a little better. We'll support you, Carrie." My brother's wife said with a smirk, but I had a feeling that there was another meaning hidden in those words. My mother said, "Thank you, both of you. Carrie, I hope you're willing to do a little work. Otherwise, it might be hard for you to stay in this house." This topic again. Although, it was unexpected that my brother and his wife were invited to this house. My brother graduated from a fine college and worked for a solid company. I'm sure he earned an ample amount of salary, but I was also working hard in my own way. Could they manage even without me? A new life began at home. Living with my brother and his wife turned out to be more challenging than I had imagined. "Carrie, aren't you up yet? Wake up and make breakfast." My brother's wife yelled, banging on my door. "I'm already up. I'm working early." Truly, I was fully awake and in full work mode. As a morning person, this was the most focused time of the day for me. I wanted to spend that time of day without anyone disturbing me. "Really? Then get on with it and get breakfast ready." "Oh, do I have to make everything by myself?" Our family was usually free in the morning and we ate what we wanted, when we wanted. My mother and my brother's wife were both home, and if it was for my brother, I thought it would be normal for his wife to prepare it for him. My sister-in-law said we're going to live together, so we need to cooperate, right? I forced myself to help them prepare breakfast, but the three of them didn't seem satisfied. "Is this what you prepared for breakfast?" "This isn't enough." I prepared a breakfast plate of soft scrambled eggs, a refreshing lettuce salad, fresh buttered toast, and a juicy sausage. I thought a breakfast like this would be pretty good, but did I miss something? "Then you don't have to eat it." Hearing this, the three of them looked surprised. "What? What's with that attitude? Who do you think you are? This attitude is unacceptable. You should help with the housework." "But I have work to do, too." Oh, work, really? I can't believe it. What kind of work is that? Are you crazy? My brother and his wife questioned my words and cussed at me. My brother, in particular, tended to constantly look down on me. Probably influenced by my mother, he made fun of me. Still, this would take up a lot of my work time. I headed to my room, put my laptop in my bag, and left the house. Wait, where are you going? I ignored my brother's voice and strode to my father's hospital room. As I ran into my father's hospital room, he looked at me with a surprised expression. Carrie, what's wrong? You seem flustered. I explained to my father what had just happened. My father looked at me with a look of surprise on his face. My father said I didn't know they were. I'm sorry, Carrie. Don't worry about it, all right? You can choose your own way of life. I was lost. I'm sure your mother would feel more comfortable if Kevin were home. You don't need to be in a place where you don't feel comfortable. All I want is for you to live happily. So live your life the way you want to live, all right? Thank you, Father. With my father's encouragement, I decided to leave home. When I returned home in the evening, a scene like a movie was waiting for me. The faces of my mother, brother, and sister-in-law were serious. Where were you? Brother, weren't you at work? Because of you, I had to take the day off. How could you take a day off for such a reason? Inwardly, I was surprised at how easily my brother took time off work. Wasn't that too irresponsible? Gradually, the tone of my brother and his wife's voice escalated. Get out of here. That's what he said. Why? I replied calmly in surprise. From now on, the three of us will live together. So, if you don't want to stay, please leave. We don't need an overbearing presence like you to support us. My brother and his wife tried to kick me out of the house. Carrie, that's enough. You don't need to be here now that your father is not here. For some reason, my mother, like my brother and his wife, said that I was a hindrance. Did she know how involved I was in this family's finances? My mother bought branded goods every month, but what would she do when her allowance was reduced? I was very angry. My mother, brother, and sister-in-law ignored my story no matter how many times I explained it to them. I think they were a little too rude. I couldn't take it any longer. I thought and came up with a little ruse. First, I transferred the money in the bank account linked to the credit card my mother used every day to another account that I managed. I thought this would surprise my mother a little when she could no longer use her credit card. In addition, I transferred some money from my father's account, which supported the family finances in a similar fashion. Only my father's medical expenses could be paid out of his separate account. My mother did not know about this bank account. As a result, a large portion of the family's finances fell on the shoulders of my brother and his wife. I didn't know the details of my brother's income situation, but I was sure he would feel the burden more than ever. After I had completed all the formalities, I packed up my belongings and said, I'm leaving this place. My mother, brother, and sister-in-law looked surprised at these words. They had been harassing me so much, but they didn't think I would actually take action. But when I looked at their faces, they seemed to be enjoying themselves. You're finally leaving. I've never seen such a troublesome person. You're not coming back, aren't you? I couldn't believe they were belittling me to no end. Of course not. Don't contact me. They smiled at me when I left the house. But what would they think after I left home? I smiled at them in my heart and started a new life. My new house was peaceful and I could enjoy my own time. I felt completely refreshed and was able to concentrate on my work. Then one day, as expected, I received a call from my brother. I told you not to contact me. What's wrong? Hey, is it true that you were the one who did all the money transactions in our family home? My brother's voice was filled with surprise and urgency. Oh, that. Yes, that's right. Why are you asking now? Why didn't you tell me? We had no idea. Well, I did mention several times that I was working, but neither you nor Mom believed me, right? Well, Mom said a lot of things, and I was a little confused. So that's not my fault, right? No, it's not, but I'm having a problem with money. Mom's been spending quite a bit. And on top of that, we haven't been able to pay the house utilities and stuff. Yes, I was able to do it because I was supporting you in so many ways. I'm not home anymore, so you have to do it. Carrie, I need your help to transfer some money to my bank account. What? I beg you, can you transfer some money over now? You must be joking. You're working for a big company. Isn't that how you make a living? Well, actually, I got fired from that company. What? Why? I made a big mistake. Was that before you moved back to our parents' house? My brother's reply left me speechless. I guessed correctly. My brother may have come back to my parents' house thinking that there was enough money in the house. He probably thought he would be able to get by with a solid pension coming in after my father retired. I wanted to tell my brother that I was supporting the family finances, even though it looked like I was doing nothing. It was amusing to imagine the look of surprise on my brother's face when he learned that I was supporting the household finances, as he had assumed that the household finances were stable. And the same was true of my brother's wife and mother. My brother's wife told Mekri, "We need your help. We're about to run out of savings." My mother also said your father is really upset about this. He says he won't contribute money to the household finances anymore. We're in such a bad situation. You know what? I've supported you enough. You are all healthy, so work hard and support yourselves. I'll cheer you on. I heard a terrified voice on the other end of the phone. Reflect on your actions so far. I'm hanging up now, so don't contact me. But Carrie, wait a minute. I then distanced myself from my brother, his wife, and my mother. My father also felt that he could no longer return to his life with my mother and consulted a lawyer. My father changed hospitals and was living quietly in a different place. Thankfully, I could visit him every day. One of my friends informed me about my brother's recent situation. He had moved into a small apartment and seemed to be living each day frugally. My mother, who had been a homemaker for a long time, seemed to be struggling with her sudden job. My brother, too, seems to find it difficult to listen to the opinions of the younger staff, perhaps because of his confidence as a college graduate, and his part-time job didn't last long. Among them, my brother's wife was the only one who worked hard to support the family finances, but it seemed she couldn't bear the pressure and went away. So, my brother and mother are now working hard together, apparently. However, my mother's habit of overspending has not changed, and her debts are increasing. I am worried about her, but I can no longer help her. I am now working hard in a comfortable living space. I am gradually getting more money, and I am thinking of trying something new. I want to visit my father every day and spend more time with him because I want to see more of his cheerful